Here we go, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Obviously you're busy, it's the middle of the day, but here you are spending some time with me. Hopefully I could teach you a couple of things and it's worth your while, right? But today what we're really going to be diving into is really about how to help you, right? And how to help you get leads and how to turn some of these leads into deals. And what we're going to do is our team and myself, we've compiled a list of all different ways to get leads. Now, guys, there are a ton of them here. Most of them are going to be for free. Most of them you don't have to pay for. There are some that you can pay for too. And we're going to go over what that looks like. But I want to kind of dive into how you're going to be able to find leads of people who want to sell their properties, right? Because when I'm working with investors, the biggest obstacle is lead gen. Right? We work so hard on how to learn how to do deals. We learn so much in this, but it's how to get lead generation, right? So how are we getting these deals and turning them into sub 2 deals, right? And so this is what we're going to talk about today. So when we very first started getting into real estate investing, we did the letters, the mailers, we did the yellow letters, we did driving for dollars. We've made deals both of those ways. We would do cold calling. Right? I would pull lists and either we'd cold call them or we would pull lists and do mailers. We would cold call right off Zillow for sale by owner. We would talk to realtors and see if they would want to sell those houses with seller financing on some of those really overage listings that were on the market for 100 something days, right? Reach out where I could see maybe the owner, maybe they didn't have a lot of equity, right? I would look at when it was previous sold to them and maybe they only had it for under 5 years. That under 5 year ownership for me was always a real big hot point because chances are they don't have a lot of equity yet. And if they want to have, and if they don't have a lot of equity and they want to sell or need to sell, there's a great lead for a sub 2 deal. So I know when a lot of people like to pull lists, I'm talking about that. What are some of my favorite lists? Okay. And then what you could do is called list stacking. Right? Everybody knows what that is. If you don't, I'll go over that, but you could pull one list and then pull a completely different list and compile the two and then see what's left over. So list stacking, one of my favorites, I love houses that have been owned less than 5 years. I love houses that are vacant or absentee owner. Obviously, shut off water, any liens, code violations, things like this. I look for low equity. Now, also you could look for free and clear properties. Those could turn into seller finance deal if it's a free and clear property, if that's what you're going to be hunting, right? But sometimes with a free and clear property, I have an alternative just listing it. And I don't have any maybe pain to where I could list it with a realtor and sell it even in any condition. However, if you don't have any equity, if you do list it with a realtor, you might have to write a check for thousands of dollars just to say goodbye to your house. And for a lot of folks, that's just not even an option, right? And if there's no equity and they don't have that ability to, this isn't a situation for somebody who wants to sell or needs to sell. Here's how those deals will work out really well. So I love low equity. That's one of my favorite ones. I love ownership of less than 5 years. So those are some of my favorite. And then once again, if you have a low equity, less than 5 years of ownership, absentee owner with some like code violations, like stack. Like if you could find those folks, you're onto something, right? Now, can I skip trace them and call them? Can I go knock on their door if you could find out where their stuff's getting mailed to, right? There's a lot of different ways to contact these folks, and that's what we're going to go over. So I've learned from the legend, Ron LeGrand, was my coach, my original coach 22 years ago, and I've been with them for a very long time. They have a really fancy looking, not fancy, I'm just joking. It's a yellow piece of paper that's handwritten, but it's not. It's all done by computer, but it looks so handwritten, it's ridiculous. And what it just will simply say, and it's really basic, hi, my name is Joe and my wife is Jen, and we're interested in buying your house at 125 Smith Street. Right? Name, phone number, please call me right away. My name, my phone number. So how do we get them to open that, right? Because the biggest thing is how much junk mail do we get to our house where I get them? I see this thing, chuck it right in the garbage. It's like a frisbee heading to the garbage if it's one of those I buy your house postcards, because I see those all the time. So the trick with Ron, which they taught us, was they get what's called you want to write this down, it's called an invitation style envelope. You could Google the term. And it's an invitation style envelope because it's the size and shape of the envelope that looks like you're getting invited to a wedding. It's a different envelope than you'd get a mail, like a bill, because you all know when you get that bill in the mail with the size of the envelope, the long one, and there's a smaller one for like the credit card, right? You know what those things are. You can spot those a mile away. But what's the invitation style envelope look like? It looks like you're getting invited to a wedding. So the printer that we use, I'll share her information with you guys if you're interested. Her name's Christy King. She's out in Florida. The lady is absolutely amazing. She's been in this industry for like 30 something years. There's almost nobody better than her. But what Christy has is we pay her to do it. She has the letters. We pull the list with a name, the address of the property that's distressed, the new address where these folks live, because it's an absentee owner. So the mail's getting mailed somewhere else. We have that address too. We have all that information pulled. We send it to Christy. She prints out all the letters. She will print out the envelopes. She'll have them all stuffed. And here's the two tricks. The outside of it looks handwritten. The letter on the inside looks handwritten. The outside's an envelope, looks like you're getting invited to a wedding. And then what we do is we just get a stamp. She says, don't pay for the mass postage, use a stamp and stamp that thing. Make it look like you're getting invited to a wedding. And then the last trick of it is don't seal the back of it. Don't lick it closed. Just tuck the back of it in there. Because any business is going to make sure that letter's closed no matter what. If you're getting invited to like a wedding or things like that, and if it's already open and tucked in, your success rate of opening, guys, is extremely high when you do it this way. And what your goal is to have somebody open this letter up and read your message without thinking it's a piece of junk mail. And when you think you're about to get invited to a wedding or to a party because you're getting this fancy looking little envelope with it not closed, and you think the psychology behind it, you open up because it's not even licked closed. And then here's this yellow handwritten letter. It all just says, I want to buy your house. But they read it, right? So this is one of my favorite methods. We've gotten a couple deals from doing that, and it works fantastic. So Christy King, she's the jam. However, you're going to spend probably about $1.25 on average per letter. Stamp, list pulled, printing, mailed to your house, dropped in the mailbox, about $1.25 a letter. So you do 1,000, you're going to spend about $1,250. You should get a deal, 2-3 deals maybe out of that. Your response rate when somebody calls back on that is usually about 1 to 1.5%, maybe 2%, but that's what you're going to be looking at getting back as your calls. But those leads that come in are pretty targeted and they're usually pretty strong. So if you're good, you can maybe look at cash. Now, a little helpful if you can learn creative finance, where I can offer now seller financing, maybe a higher price, even a sub 2. That's even, giving them a more options. So more options is you can make more deals. We also now, to kind of change the pace. So Christy King, if you look her up, I will drop her link in our group, guys. So you don't have to look too hard for her. I don't get a dime from it. The only thing is if I work with somebody who I think does a great job and they're kind of like legendary in the game, I will gladly share their information with you guys. And she is really that. And we like her a lot. However, we've turned into doing some Facebook marketing. And what we learned from Facebook marketing, we used a coach for that. His name is Nate Armstrong. Nate Armstrong, another one. He's actually in South Florida now, lives about 25 minutes from us. And he's in the Sarasota area. The guy's fantastic. He does, I think, 30, 40, 50 deals a month. He does it from social media marketing. Probably over the spring, actually, he put a post out there, says, I'm looking to add another person to my team because we did 40 deals last month. So he's doing it right. And the one thing I loved about Nate, we learned this before the pandemic happened. He was real big on social media marketing, how many people are on Facebook, how you can get a hold of people and do target marketing, things like that. So I was just running the numbers because we had our win meeting, which I do with our team, Abby and Elizabeth and our whole teams together. We just had it yesterday. So I ran the numbers, and guys, we spend $140 per day for Facebook marketing leads. Now at $140 a day times 7, I'll take out my calculator for you. That's $980, guys. We had 161 incoming warm leads last week. Is that right, Abby?
I think so, yeah.
161 or 163. I knew it was 160 something. At that point, guys, that is $6.08 per incoming lead. I hope you can see why we like Facebook so much. So these folks are reaching out to us for, they have a house for sale. And I think we made 2 deals out of that last week. So at that point, 1 out of 80 is turning into a deal now. The other goes into our follow-up system, and some of these turn into a deal in another few weeks. Some of these take months, some take years, but we'll follow up. But for $6.08 a lead for the entire week, that's pretty darn good, guys. So I don't know of many ways that I found are less expensive, but that is not targeted at all. This is a very big, broad band of people just marketing in general. So I'm not pulling absentee owners. I'm not pulling this. Do we get tire kickers who say, hey, I just want to know what my house is worth? We do get that, right? But there's also people, there's deals in there. And I like the fact that we do fill up our pipeline with a lot more potentials that might turn into deals down the road too. I'll tell you, one of our best ways too, guys, is doing referrals, talking about referrals on our social media. You'd be surprised how many people don't know what you do for a living that follow you on social media. You'll be surprised how many aunts, uncles, cousins, people that you know in your family, friends that you know that don't know that maybe you're in real estate. So if you go on my own personal Facebook page, you'll see there's a blurb I'll put out every so and so, like, hey guys, like I was just talking to our team about it, that I want to put one on my Facebook page coming up in the next week or two, where it says, hey, you see the market is down in real estate, where I'm still looking to buy another 2 houses this month. If anybody knows somebody who's looking to sell their house, if you put me in touch and I buy it, I'll pay you a $2,000 for a referral fee, right? For anything that I buy that you send my way, something in that term, right? Even though the market is down, I'm still looking to buy 2 more houses next month. If anybody knows somebody looking to sell their house, if you send my way and I buy it, I'll pay you an X amount referral fee. I can't tell you, I think we've done 3 deals from that. Just from a friend saying, hey, yeah, that's right. You got to go see my friend Joe, or you got to go see my friend Jen. All right. It's just saying what it is. And it sounds so simple, but it really works. And it's also simple not to do. And to make it even more fun, guys, Jen and I attempted at one point in our lives to make like kind of like a series video that we could put out there. And the series video it sucked. The video that was awesome was from all the bloopers that her and I made that I compiled of 3 minutes of us just being complete whack jobs. And actually, when we posted the blooper video, it got the same message across, but everybody was like laughing at it in a good, positive way because it was just us being silly. So we still got the message across that A, we buy houses, B, we'll pay you the referral, but here's some serious entertainment, because the one we tried to be all serious on was a train wreck. It wasn't a train wreck. It was just us trying to, be all like, hey, we buy houses. I do, right? Where the funny one is like when we're goofing up. So it got the message across, and it actually got a lot more views too, and some referrals. There's the traditional way, guys, the Bandit Signs, they do work. I've got Bandit Signs up. I don't know how many people call them. We do have it through our CRM. They call into our system, which is a live operator that answers 24/7 a day, and it does keep track of this stuff. But do they work? Yes. I will tell you though, I have called a lot of them. And when I do, I say, hey guys, if my house is turnkey and ready to go on the market, what should I do with it? And they all say the same thing is, well, no, I'm looking for, a half off fixer upper, something I could pay cash for. Where if you think about it, my sign could say, I pay full price for houses. Because if somebody calls me up and says, hey, I just bought this house a year ago and it's turnkey and beautiful, and I say, well, why don't you list it on the market? And they say, well, I don't have any equity and it would cost me money to sell it. I can still make that deal happen. right? So for me, when I see these bandit signs and they say I buy cash, well, you got to remember most of those folks are looking to get half off, 50 cents, 60 cents in the dollar. Or for me, I get paid top price. So maybe my bandit signs say something a little bit different than theirs. And they do. Full price is one of them. There's also, I really think of customer referrals are big. Somebody that you've also done business with. It's really, really important if you have somebody, but if you bought somebody's house, the one thing that we really try to do is get a referral from them, right? Whether you have your own Facebook page, rather you don't have any of this, right? So maybe you have zero. You just have your own personal Facebook page. You don't have a business page or a website. You don't need it. But if somebody that you bought a house from were to take a 30-second video, and you don't want it to be more than 30 seconds because it's harder for them to send it to you on a cell phone and then for you to upload it somewhere if you're going to do that. So you only want it to be like 20 seconds or less. But more or less is, hey guys, I reached out to Joe and Jen. I had a house for sale. They were great to do business with. I would highly recommend if you have a house for sale, you reach out to them like I did. You won't be happier. Click done, right? And most of these are like in a way kind of fun, not great because they're not professional people who are doing this. Sometimes they don't have the best phone or the best angle. So like you're getting real, live, authentic people that we bought houses from. So I don't want it to be pretty, I want it to be real. And that's what it is. And so sharing that on your Facebook page, if it's only thing you do is, hey guys, as a reminder to the folks who do follow you, I bought Jan's house last week because they wanted to relocate out of town and wanted an easy sale. And they couldn't have been happier. Here's a little video they sent me. And I share that on my social media. Now, I also will make sure, because I have a business page, that I share it there too. Because I know if I'm going to talk to you and say, well, how do I know you? How do I trust you? How do I know you're going to do all the right things? Well, here, take a look at the video I just did with Jan 2 months ago when I bought her house, right? So all that stuff really makes a big difference. So if you've bought a house from somebody in the last 6 months, in the last year, right? Could you reach out to that person and say, hey, Mike, hey, Jan, hey, Mrs. Seller, I know when I bought your house a few months ago, you guys are really happy with that. Is there a way you could do me, even if it's just a written testimonial or a video is even better. I like the video, but whatever it is. And if they send me a written testimonial, chances are I might take a picture of the house, or if I have a picture of the house, I might put the picture of the house with the written testimonial, do a little write-up about it, right? And I think that's really good too, because it's putting you into a situation that you've done. I think I've heard of folks doing door hangers and flyers. You could do targeted ones. I think what is your cost per lead if you're going to do targets? Maybe you're going to do neighborhoods and just blanket a neighborhood that you like. You could try to do that. I have never done that. I know other investors who do. I know other investors who've had success with it. I know other investors who've done it and not had success with it. My whole thing is, guys, this is all about getting leads. What you do with these leads, that's going to be a completely different story, right? These topics are just how to generate these leads. What you do with them, that's going to be a whole other thing, like I said. Obviously, business cards are always great. But here's a couple of things that we're really maybe missing, especially now with the turn of the market, guys. So I'm going to go over a couple of things that I want you to look forward to. We've probably already heard about this before, nothing too new, but expired listings are going to start being a thing. They already are right now a little bit, but we're going to start seeing this more and more often. Now, an expired listing is I've signed up with Abby to be my realtor to sell my house. And Abby says, I'm going to sell your house opening weekend. 6 months later, Abby doesn't sell the house. And of course, for some reason, I'm going to think it's Abby's fault. So I don't re-sign up for her. That listing is now expired, right? Now, at that point, this sends a notification out. I could contact that person and send them a letter. I could send them a phone call if I skip trace them. I could go knock on their door, put a postcard, or do multiple things, right? But that expired listing is somebody who put their house in the MLS and it didn't sell. They might have some motivation. But the next part about it really is going to be networking with realtors. If you go on Zillow right now, or if you go on Redfin right now, I'm going to teach you guys a trick. You might already know, you might not. I don't know this, but you're going to want to check this out. If you go on Zillow and you go on the map view of whatever area you want to look in, and you go under houses for sale, and you go under the ones, just click the realtor or for sale by owner. We're having a heck of a good lightning storm outside right now. And there's a spot on the very bottom where you could type in keywords. I type in owner finance and hit search. Guys, you're going to see dots all over your screen, red dots, where these houses are currently listed with a realtor and they will take owner financing. I just got off the phone with one of my students who's in Austin, Texas, who they have a listing on the MLS. The property's been on the MLS for 123 days. And in the keywords, they will take owner financing. So she's been negotiating with the realtor. We look at the deal. The reason why is because the property needs a little bit of work. The seller wants 20% down. They want an 8% interest rate and a 5-year balloon over a 30-year amortization. So is that deal worth it? She's trying to make heads or toes. I said, well, what does that house rent for? Opposed to what will that monthly payment be? And the monthly payment would be way higher than rent. I'm like, well, then you need to have a conversation with that realtor and ask them, well, how can I make this deal make sense? Right? Can you get the deal at a different price, different rate? There's a lot of different things we're going to look at. But there's leads galore right there. The one thing I don't love about those leads is you're going to have to end up paying a realtor commission. And I don't ever mind paying a realtor commission at all. That's not what I'm saying. But the difference is your cost of acquisition is going to be 6% higher or 3% higher, depending on what you negotiate with that realtor to make that deal go through, right? Typically versus me buying it directly from a seller. I won't rule those deals out, guys. We've done those deals. I've bought deals through the MLS. A seller reached out to us, talked to my acquisition manager. She says, yes, I'll be open to terms. I bought this house. I moved out. It's vacant. I moved in with my fiance and I can't afford 2 payments. This house is just sitting there. So she says, I'll do seller financing. We said, great. She says, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, it's listed currently with the realtor. So we got in contact with the realtor. This was in mid-Pennsylvania. And we made that deal. It's in Du Bois, Pennsylvania. We bought the house, paid their commission right at closing, paid closing costs, got a beautiful deal out of it. So do I mind doing that? No, it's a lot easier to do on a $85,000 house than it is on a $700,000 house. Just saying, but it's all in perspective, right? If the deal's good enough, the deal's good enough, but just kind of remember that. So on your search, there's the ones listed through a realtor, but on Zillow, there's also the ones listed for sale by owner, obviously no commission, but read those notes closely because on a lot of those notes, it actually says will not do owner financing. So just pay attention before you call them and say, oh, I see owner financing. And it's like, no, don't, read it. Because I don't do seller financing. Check owner financing, then take that out and then check seller financing next. There's 2 different ones. They'll pull up different. Owner financing seems to get a better pull than seller financing. Don't do them at the same time, do them separately, but it seems like owner financing gets a little bit better pull. Networking with wholesalers, guys, I can't say that's enough. And I don't want to sound cheesy when I say this. Send me your dead leads. Anybody have any leads that you can't use, like send them my way, because that's the very generic way of doing that. It's no different than the person saying like I buy houses, like everybody says that, right? So how do you stand out? And I really want to explain it to a wholesaler, and it's going to be based on relationship, because I've gotten leads, guys, and I'll be honest with you, I get a lot of leads sent in my inbox to the point where I'm having Abby. That's one thing I forgot to talk to you about, Abby, yesterday. We got to work on that portal for people submitting leads to us, please. Because they send them to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I got so many coming in. We want to file them to where it goes to my acquisition department, to where my acquisition team could look through those leads and get through them all. Because a lot of times what I love to do is have other investors that I know who have leads that they can't work with, right? And a lot of them maybe don't fully understand all the dynamics to seller financing, but they write me and say, hey, Joe, I have one that might be a good creative deal because it's not working out for a wholesale deal. Or this house, they really need to sell it, but the house is beautiful and turnkey. So what I want to do is I want to talk to these investors and I want to let them know, like, have you ever had a seller reach out to you who's got a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood and they just want to sell it? And it's not that thing you get 50 cents on the dollar. And they're going to think, yeah, I talked to Mrs. Johnson last week, right? They're going to think that. Well, yeah, those are the ones I want. And do you have any that have like no equity? yeah, those are the ones I want. And they're like, yeah, I do, right? Those are all those deals and all the folks who really need to sell their house, but the numbers aren't working out for you. Right. Those are the leads that I want to talk to. Do you have any of those? So that's the first thing I do. I want to fill their head with all of the ones that I want, right? And the second part of it is you all want to write this part down. Please do this because this is where everybody stops. You tell them what you're looking for, but then you forget to ask them if they have any that they're currently working on that fit that description. So please, 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 please do the right thing and ask them that question. Do you have any that fit that description that are currently coming across your desk? And you wouldn't believe, oh, you know what? As a matter of fact, I do. I've got 3 of them right here that fit that description. So don't just tell them what you're looking for. Tell them what you're looking for, then ask me if they have any that you can look at, that they're currently looking at or working on or have not too long ago, that they could send your way. Guys, you will have more leads sent to you than you know what to do with. But here's your problem. Now you got to call them all or get a hold of them all and find out if this stuff works, right? But this is the point. We're talking about how to get them. Networking, REI meetings, setting yourself different than everybody else. Hey guys, like I really want to let you know, I'm a real estate investor and I do fix and flips. A lot of people think I just wholesale or I just creative or I just like, no, that's not the case. I don't have any Airbnbs. I do have a lot of rent to owns. I do have rentals. I've done a lot of these things, right? I've done fix and flips. But I really want to also have a kind of that asterisk is like, I could also do the creative stuff too. I get kind of structured deals where most people cannot. And that's a specialty, right? So am I a wholesaler? Well, I do wholesaling, but I'm not just a wholesaler, right? I'm many things. I'm a real estate investor. I'm very well-rounded, but I also want to be known as a person who's creative finance in that realm, because once again, when I go to these meetings, I want people to walk up to me and say, hey, Joe, I know that you specialize in this stuff and I have some of these, or I want to pick your brain, or I need to talk to you about it. And you'll find leads just by telling people what it is that you do, right? How I can help them. And it's really about how I can help them, because if you're talking to investors, they're going to have a crap ton of leads and there's nothing worse than throwing them out, especially if you're paying money for them. Obviously, we know driving for dollars works. I'll be honest with you, I don't go purposely driving for dollars, but if I'm going to like the store, I might take a different way home. And I'm always creeping. I'm always creeping. And I'll be dead honest with you. There was a local Facebook group that somebody was like, there's this white truck stopped in front of my house. It was taking pictures of the neighbor's house. And I was like, that's me. Like it was legitimately me. And there's this neighborhood community and there's like 60 people all like, yeah, you got to lock your doors these days. And I was like, oh my God, this was me. I was actually on that street because we had a rental on the next street over and I was on my way to that. And I saw a house that looked all like crappy and I want to take its picture. And somebody in the neighborhood saw it and said, there's some creeper going through. It was me and my son. And they said, I could hear him talking to somebody. And I was talking to this was last year. So it was like my 6-year-old son at that time. But yeah, that stuff still works, guys. And I still do it all the time. And I don't purposely go out driving for it. But while I'm out driving, yeah, exactly. Been there, done that. But I do look for it while I am out and I will take different routes. And there are plenty of times where I'm like, oh, guys, we got to turn around because not only driving for dollars for finding the lawn that's long and the boarded up, we all know those things, but you'd be surprised, guys, out of the just for sale by owner signs. And I will tell you one thing that I love, the crappier the sign, the better. The harder to get a hold of the seller, the better. We've made deals from those crappy signs we had one that we bought a piece of land that we bought that the guy was so hard to get a hold of. The sign, you could barely read it. Like we had to pull over and like wipe it off to see what it said. We called the guy for 6 months. Terrible to try to buy anything from him because he just won't call you back. But finally, after us persisting and calling him, he did, and we got the deal and it was great. So if you see those for sale by owner signs, tell all of your friends and all of your family. And Mike Scarpa and Jay in my group really did a neat post and I was going to steal it from them because it was so good. They just have like a legit picture of some crappy looking for sale by owner sign. And they're like, hey, have you seen one of these in your neighborhood lately? Well, if you send me that information and I buy it, I'll pay you $1,000 as a thank you. Like, but they put the actual sign, the for sale by owner sign, so people could see the visual. Because you know what happens is I've told my friends, hey guys, I buy houses. If you see any of these for sale by owner signs, send them my way. And one of my buddies like, oh my God, I see those all over the place. I'm like, well, then send them to me. Like, I'll pay money if I make these deals. I started getting all these photos one day, and it's listings of realtors, their signs. And I'm like, no, the for sale by owners, not the realtor signs. I need the ones that are listed by owner. So actually having that picture is helpful. Posting that you buy properties on Facebook groups works. Posting on Craigslist works. You could find deals on Craigslist too. I have. Emailing landlords, reaching out to landlords. I know on Zillow, we look for a lot of times folks who have properties for sale, but what about somebody who's got properties for rent? Now, rentals are pretty hot, but maybe if you find some that have been sitting there for a while, I would reach out to that landlord and find out if that's something that he'd want to just sell it. Because if he's used to renting it, he might be open to seller financing it too, or even a lease purchase. Expired listings, like I talked about. Facebook Marketplace is another great one. You'd be surprised just how many people put their houses for sale on Facebook Marketplace. FSBOs just sitting there. We've made deals that way too. So if you post into Facebook groups, you might have a local garage sale group, a local town group, a local this group. And sometimes we could post right in that group where you don't want it to look spamming, right? Because you might get kicked out of the group. But maybe you just put, hey, does anybody know if anybody looking to sell a property soon? I'm looking to buy one next month. Just something simple, right? I don't want to pound my chest and say I'm an investor or I buy houses, but does anybody know a neighbor looking to sell their house soon? I'm looking to buy one in the area next month. Post it. You worst case scenario, you'll get a couple of leads. So these are a handful, guys. I think I just probably dropped, darn near close to 15, 20 different ways to get leads, right? Between doing some Facebook free stuff, spending some money if you want to, customer referrals, $1,000 giveaway, doing some Bandit Signs, whatever it is, networking. There's a lot of different ways. And really what it is you guys got to tell the world what it is you do. So for me, the first thing that I would do that costs absolutely nothing is I'd go on my own social media, tell the world what it is that I'm looking to do. Even though the market is down, guys, I'm looking to buy 2 more properties next month or a property next month. Does anybody know who somebody's looking to sell? I'm paying $1,000 right now as a referral for anything I buy as a thank you. Simple, plain, and once again, you're saying what it is you do, because maybe right now today they don't, but maybe in 2 months from now or 3 months from now, because you put that post out there, they do remember that, right? And when somebody writes you on that post, you interact with them a little bit too, so they really remember that. That is going to go a long, long, long way. So then what's going to happen is a lot of times in real estate, this isn't a quick game, guys. This is a longer time. So if you put some marketing out right now, one of my students, she did a mailer, I would say probably April, when we were down to Florida the first time. And she wrote 2 deals this week off of those mailers months later. So sometimes it doesn't happen immediately. But this is the whole point of your marketing, is they might not get to that letter that you sent them for 5 months. But this is why it's consistency, right? And this is why we talk about doing it constant marketing all of the time. Build up your funnels of people that you're going to be able to talk to, because that follow-up is going to be key. So the last thing I'm going to really touch on to make sure I stay on time is going to be the change in the market, and your follow-up is going to be key. So one of the best sources, guys, you're going to have in leads right now, I'm going to kind of leave it as an asterisk, rather you have talked to people 1 time before or 1,000 times before. If you have any leads that you've talked to in the last month, 3 months, 6 months, or even beyond, there are going to be a ton of leads on there from the folks who have not sold those houses yet. I've been in this real estate market for 22 years now, fixed and flipped a handful of houses. We have a whole bunch under rent to own currently. I think we have 2 closings this week. Like we do quite a bit. I've watched this market ebb and flow over a while now. And I can kind of see from everybody's predicting this is going to be a little bit of a downturn. And this is why I think the creative finance is going to come into big play coming up. And what that means is why buyers are going to have to want to get a little bit of a lower price. I think a lot of people got lucky on the upturn. And I think you're going to see a lot of rookie investors get out of it. And then what I mean by that is if somebody bought a house, and I think Abby and I were chatting about this yesterday, and they go to do a fix and flip. And because they had to order materials and things like this happened, and we've all been there before, it goes over the time frame of what's expected for the fix and flip. So now you're 2 months behind schedule. You get on the market, but good news in that red hot market, in those 2 months, the house went up another $25,000 in value. So you put it on the market and you think you hit a home run. You're thinking this was great. You just got lucky, right? Is really what it is. But you think, wow, and maybe you've done that once or twice or even 2 or 3 times. Great. You even feel better about yourself. But then what happens in a downturn market when that happens to you and your house doesn't go up $25,000 in value, it drops that, right? You could put yourself in a pretty bad spot. And I think what you'll see is either some people who do fix and flips, they're either going to get a little bit banged up. It won't be the end of the world, but you'll have some of that happen. I'm not predicting doom and gloom, but things you just got to be aware of. The thing I love about the creative world is if equity starts to diminish a little bit, values do drop slowly over time. Properties sit on the market a lot more. When folks would talk to us before in the past and they say, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to list it with a realtor and I know it's going to get sold opening weekend for full price or if not over asking, right? And that's typically what it's been for the last few years. But now that that's going to start happening less and less, and that's not going to be an option. And I know, and I've watched a lot of interviews from folks who bought heavily after or during recessions, when those options aren't there, there's going to be folks who are going to be a lot more willing to talk to you. So somebody who maybe reached out to you 6 months ago, who says, I'm just gonna wait and sell it, and they haven't sold their house yet. Listing it with a realtor right now is not going to be as easy as it was. And I'm going to go over my scenario real quick. I just sold my house 2 weeks ago in New York. And when I talked to my realtor, who's one of the best realtors in our area, if this was 6 months prior or even a year prior, we probably would have had 50 or 60 showings within the first 2 days. We would have had 10 to 12 offers, usually around $20,000 to $50,000 over asking. Now with the current market, guys, 2.5 weeks ago, we had 5 showings opening weekend. We had not one offer. This is on a $250,000 home, which is slightly over the median in our city. All right, so this isn't anything super, super high end or luxurious. This is not $1 million house. This is the average. So this is the difference of 6 months of interest rates being in 3 to 4%, what the market has done, going to 5-6% or 7% or even higher, right? So I can imagine when this is going to continue to happen and the markets pull back a little bit more. I don't know how far they're going to pull back. Everybody that I keep watching saying this is going to be probably a good 2 to 3 years, slightly more, but in that range. The average recession for the span is usually 18 months. If you look up any recession, it's been 18 months. They're predicting this one's going to be slightly longer. So that being the case, there's going to be a lot of these opportunities. And what I want to do is not be reactive of the market, but be prepared for this market. And by being prepared for this market, what that means is understanding that when we're talking to sellers, having a solution that will work for them and us. And having a solution that if you don't understand this creative stuff, there's not going to be much competition out there besides you. This is why you want to staple yourself as the person who really specializes, an expert in this field, and truly understand and take the time. This is why we do this every week for you guys, but truly understand to take the time to figure out the dynamics of how to make these deals work, right? What it is, how do I structure these deals? How do you make these things work? So we're going to go into more of these every single week and really, really dive into the depths of how to make deals. And what I would like to do, and I want to get some of your feedback on this, because I know Mike, who's down here with us, have been talking about maybe having like either a weekly mastermind where it's more of an intimate group where people bring deals and we sit there and we talk about deals, right? Like your deals, how are we going to structure these deals, live deals that you're working on. So I want to get some feedback on that. We've been kicking that idea around. We've both been busy, but I talked to him about it. I said, hey, listen, once we move to Florida and everything is all settled, we'll talk about it more. Well, guys, we've been here for 2 weeks now. So I know we'll talk about that more. But if you guys have deals in particular, I'd like to see if we can help you with some of those too. So I want to kind of go over questions to make sure that I'm on time. Am I doing good on time, Abby? I got a few more minutes.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so questions. I see we got a lot of people from all over. We got Ashley. She's buying deals all over the place. We knew that. We got Pennsylvania in the house. We got some folks up in Rochester, couple of Rochester folks. We got Mike and Jay in Philly, Corning, New York. Very nice. Cleveland. We know Abby's up in there. Some Fort Myers, Cape Coral. Beautiful. San Antonio, Texas. Love it there. But soon to be Honolulu, even more awesome. Got California in the house. Very cool. Do you have a set marketing schedule, Mike? Good question. So we do. We have with our Facebook marketing, we have that does it every single day for us. With that. So I guess it depends on if we want to do a mailing. We've talked about that. One thing that I've also found, this next level stuff, I guess I will share this with you. I've not done it yet, but I'm going to do it very soon. I've recently found out that I could pull a list, a targeted list, whether it's a county or whatever target I'm looking for. And I could pull the name, phone numbers, addresses, the more data fields, the better. And then I could upload that list into my Facebook campaign. And I could have Facebook chase these folks down and run my ads across their screen, which is taking it to another level. So if I want to find absentee owners who own a house in Nashville, Tennessee, and my absentee owner list has owned this property for less than 5 years, absentee owner that is not an LLC or a corporation, right? So somebody, an individual who owns this house. And I pull that list and here's the 800 people. And I have got their names, their phone numbers, and their addresses. Well, I could upload that into Facebook campaigns and have Facebook find Betty Smith, who has this address and phone number tied to her. And now Betty Smith on her Facebook page is going to say, hey, Joe wants to buy your house. So there's that. Pretty cool stuff. So yeah, we do have a daily Facebook. Our daily Facebook runs $140 a day. We're getting about, like I said, $6 per lead. So on average, that's about 23 leads a day incoming, reaching out to us. With that being the case, please elaborate on Facebook campaigns. So have you ever seen one of these sponsored ads, Brandon, where it comes across your screen and it says like sponsored ad, right? And it could be for cars. It could be for whatever you're really looking for online. It knows Facebook will start chasing you. I could say I'm looking for dog food, and next thing you know, I'm looking at like dog foods coming across my screen on Facebook. So they're going to target you on sponsored ads, right? So I run sponsored ads on Facebook, and my sponsored ads could be, but not. I could put, I'm looking for landlords in Nashville. And now landlords who have landlords that live in Nashville, they'll start seeing my ads more. I don't narrow it down. If I'm looking at Nashville, I just put a big old circle around Nashville and say, run my ad in this circle at this much per day. And now what that will do is they're going to show my ads, my sponsored ad run across their screen, and whatever that will look like, right? Whatever ad that you want to run. It could say, Brandon buys houses or whatever you want to do. That's what we do. So you could run sponsored ads on campaign. You could target things there, but when you do start to target on Facebook, your cost per lead goes up, but your targeted person is going to be a little bit more refined than just general, right? you might talk to Tom next door. Who, well, I just want to know what my house is worth because I saw your thing on Facebook. And is it worth $8 million or, whatever. So we love Facebook campaigns, but I don't ever want to have, and we just used Sharper Solutions. Gary and Susan Harper are amazing. If you are actually running a real estate or any business, I really do recommend their services because they kind of help straighten things out. And the one thing that I learned from Gary is in any business, don't have a single point of failure. So what's Joe and Jen's single point of failure, Abby?
The Facebook campaigns, the sponsored ads.
Right. Right. So does anybody remember when Facebook didn't work for a day? Oh, it was a couple months ago. Anybody remember that? See, it happened so quick, nobody even remembers. It was a few months back where Facebook was down for a day. Instagram was down because I remember my wife was freaking the F out, bugging out. Instagrams, I can't see what's going on, right? So I remember that day clearly. For me, I don't care as much. But I do remember it was down because I also remember our team was hey, we're not going to get any leads today until Facebook turns back on. Single point of failure. So this is why you want to have this big long list that I just gave you, right? Because I don't want to be just tied to one thing. Facebook's pretty legit to where I'm guessing they're going to get up pretty quick again. But just think of that in your business, guys. You don't want to have that one point where all my eggs are in one basket for my marketing. We kind of are slided towards that now, but we do have this big old list of backup things where if Facebook shuts off and they say, hey, the government shut off Facebook for good. Can you do it on TikTok? Can you do it on all these other social media platforms? Yes, you could change it. Can I start doing Bandit Signs more? Can I start sending out some yellow letters and mailers or cold call or do all the things again that we could? Yes, we could. But this is a great way to do this. Questions, concerns, comments? Cool. Next week, guys, I'm going to share my story on my very first deal, how I did it. It's totally a way that I even get into today. And how, if you haven't done your first deal, I really want to work people. And this is my new goal because I've really been looking inward. I watched some Tony Robbins lately, and it's really to the point of why I do this is I love to help people. And so what is it you want to help people do? I really want to help people get their first deal. Because I feel if you have that first check, that first taste, if you haven't got it yet, that first one is a really amazing feeling. So what my goal is, I want to help a lot of folks. And if you already have deals that you've got, great, I want to help you get more. But for folks who have never made their very first deal, I'd like to do that because I know over the story that I'm going to share with everybody next week, at a young age, how I got my very first deal. And what that check did for me, the money was great. But more importantly was the check mark that I did it. That means if I know I could do it once, that means I could do it more. And it was a confidence thing. So it's a money and confidence thing. So I have a feeling that if I could help enough people get that first deal, you never know what that could turn into, because if there's so many forks in the roads that I came across where if I didn't continue this path, I wouldn't have all the properties that we do, be able to help all the folks that we do, have this amazing team that we do that, we meet twice a day, every single day with our team. And we have, you could ask Abby, we always have a ton of stuff to talk about. Elizabeth is here too. I'm just happy you could even be here. You're supposed to be going on vacation soon. But this is the whole point, is we always have a lot of stuff to talk about during these. The next part about this too is we're going to also start interviewing our students and our team to kind of figure out what it's like. So if you want to see what it's like working with us and some of the things that we're doing to get these deals, we want to have a lot more transparency with you guys too. Share what it is that we're doing. So I want to have a day where we do sit with Abby. She's the person who handles all of our tech stuff. She's been on acquisitions. She's very big on processes. So if you guys are having a business and you want questions answered, she's the process queen when it comes to this stuff. And we're working on a lot of automation. Elizabeth, she's our acquisitionist. She's the one that works with our VAs. She's the one that talks to a ton of sellers. She's the one that's sorting out all of the traffic. She gets on phone calls with sellers. She sets calls up to closing calls with Brittany, our manager on acquisition. So Elizabeth does a lot. I want to have with Brittany on here, Courtney, who is our disposition manager, and even Chelsea, she's our transaction coordinator. So we have a great team of people. And we're very blessed. So we want to definitely share a lot more with you guys. Really, guys, that's all I got. And I got more stuff to do. So look at that. We're done before 3 o'clock, Abby. I did it. I know. You're super impressed. I can see that smile on your face. All right, cool, guys. Well, I appreciate you being here for that hour. I really do. I hope you got some value out of this. If you have any questions, please drop it in the group. This is all going to be recorded. We'll share it in the group. It'll probably be up there in the next day or two. And then Abby's going to share tomorrow the meeting for next week. So sign up for that. They'll be out tomorrow as well. Much other than that, guys, you have a great one. We're going to talk about more how to get these deals. So stay tuned and we'll see you next Tuesday. All right, guys, see you then.